And start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Finney.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you as the creator of the universe and the author of truth, and we ask that you be with us this day as we take up the business of the county and representing the taxpayers. Father, we are mindful too of all the blessings that you have showered upon us. But Father, we're also mindful of those who are battling health concerns, those who have lost loved ones recently. There are so many things going on around us. Father, you need to be there to fill the void, and we know that you are. And all that needs to happen is we call upon you. Father, we thank you for the snow we received the other day, and we ask for continued moisture in this parched land. And Father, we bring all of our prayers to you through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Welcome, everybody. The consent agenda is our first order of business, approval of the minutes from our meeting on January 17th and our work session on the 17th. Has the commissioners had a chance to review those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda as printed.
And Mr. Chairman, I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. I will discuss just briefly the Kansas Natural Resource Coalition cost. It's so that those who are here gathered have some idea. That cost is $5,000 for our renewal in that. I think it's a necessary resource for our commission. Are there any other comments to the motion on the table? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is public comment. We invite anybody in the public today to address the commission. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. Make them respectful and pointed. Anybody have any public comment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and maybe I missed my opportunity, but I'd like to offer an item for an addition to our agenda.
All right, and what is that, sir?
I'd like to briefly discuss the Finney County Economic Development Corporation and our relationship with them, and see if there's, it won't take long, but just seek a suggestion or two. So,
All right, and where would you like to put that on the agenda?
makes no difference. It's wherever it fits here.
All right, well, why don't we take it up before Board of Governance? Is that all right?
Okay.
Is there a second to the motion to amend the agenda?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to add Finney County Development Corp. to our agenda this day. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll take it up right before Board of Governance. Hearing and seeing no public comment, we'll move into the business items. First item is Finney County 2023-2 parcel plat for Espino Edition. Hi.
Good morning. Palm Brook Land Surveying Services on behalf of Ramiro Espino is requesting the plat Espino Edition. The property is located on the 900 block of West Maple Street, just west of 905 West Maple. Current property is zoned RR Rural Residential. The applicant plans to build a house on each lot. There will be 3 lots, each containing about 2.0 acres. The second submittal was approved with plat reading on January 3rd, 2023, and Planning Commission recommended approval of the plat on January 19th. There are 2 alternatives. The governing body may approve the parcel plat, or the governing body may not approve the parcel plat. And staff recommends alternative 1, approve the parcel plat.
Thank you.
Could we have that pulled up on the screen, please?
Got it here. If if we had page numbers, I could tell you what page, but there you go. One more.
Were you there, Dave, when they were discussing this? Or
Pardon?
were you there at the meeting when they were discussing this?
No, I was not.
I guess my only question would be, are they planning on having their own septic systems or okay, and they've got to have okay. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question to direct them.
Would you please?
The dotted line down the side, that's a route of entry, is that a public right-of-way, and who's responsible for maintaining that?
The homeowners.
It's gonna be privately
Yeah, it's
maintained?
private, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have a recommendation from staff to approve the plat as submitted to the county commission. Is there a motion to approve this plat?
I so move, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the plat as recommended.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the parcel plat as submitted, known as the Espino addition. Are there any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, next on our agenda is hearing the Finney County Rural Water District's petition for annexation of ground into the district. I will be recusing on this and handing the gavel to our vice chairman to conduct the public hearing on the water district's petition.
I should really recuse myself on this too, because I'm one of the adjoining landowners and the current water right holder.
Very good. Then the three of you have to appoint a presiding chairman and conduct the public hearing, please.
Can we at least throw out a motion to go into public hearing mode? Can you accept that?
That doesn't mean I won't have comments.
Okay.
I shouldn't vote on it one way or the other.
Is Lon okay for our presider? To whomever, we need to offer a motion to,
I think we need the presider first and then open the public hearing, yes.
okay,
And I don't have a problem doing
I nominate Lon.
yeah. We'll second that, third it. So you're selected now, Mr. Whatever, third.
I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the Rural Water District #1 petition.
That's what I'm trying to offer.
And Dave has offered that motion.
Second.
Is there a second? And a second by Dwayne. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
We are in a public hearing for the Finney County Rural Water District #1. And Robert, do you want to speak first with regard to this?
I can offer a few remarks. Could we go ahead and bring that map up related to this topic, please? As you were, Dory had presented to the board that she received a petition for this annexation of two properties, and we'll get those properties up there on the screen in a moment. She did send out the notice for the hearing today, certification, and today you're to hear any comments or questions or concerns associated with the annexation, and there's your map up there on the screen of the property there in question. You do have others out in the audience that you may want to offer an opportunity to provide a little bit more of a summary in terms of the project and the purpose.
But it has been determined that the petition was
Correct, yes. yes.
proper, I don't know the right word I'm trying to come up with.
Yes, they were signed off on properly and so forth, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, why don't we do that, and ask the people in the audience for comments, pro, con, neutral, anything that you
want Perry to
would
talk?
like to have to say.
Would you like Perry to talk?
Well, we can start it with Perry, yeah. Perry, if you would, please, since he's hiding behind the podium conveniently, but,
I'm prepared to speak today, but I guess I've been told I will.
well, yes, that's voluntold. You've been voluntold
Okay,
today.
okay.
But would you please, just for the record, state name, your position, what your role is in this?
My name's Perry Smith, Superintendent for Finney County Rural Water District.
And then a little bit of background as far as how the petition got to
Okay.
this point today.
Well, a number of months ago, Jeff Boyd with Garden City Co-op approached Finney County Rural Water District about a water service, domestic water service for their new office facility there. I had participated with Garden City Finney County Planning and Zoning on site plan review. One of the things that was identified in there was that there needed to be some sort of fire hydrant, fire protection there. So presented that to planning and went ahead and initiated into an agreement with co-op to get that installed for them to facilitate getting their plan going. Part of serving the domestic service to that, though, meant that that property would need to be within the service territory of Finney County Rural Water District. That being said, we began to work with Bob and Dory in getting the petition together, getting it submitted, and all parties agreed to. We're at that point now where we've submitted it last month, and now we're at the public hearing comments for anything there. Finney County Rural Water District Board has already approved everything up to this point, so just to facilitate moving this along.
Okay,
So if you have any questions or anything else you want to direct at me, please do so.
so now we will go to the Board of Commissioners. There'll be three of us asking questions if we have them. Dwayne, go ahead.
I assume water quality, I mean, the quantity is available, no issue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's, what they're needing for their office is just restrooms and coffee pots. So,
Fire hydrant.
and the fire hydrant, yes, yes, for the fire protection. We went ahead and the fire hydrant is installed and is wet as of last Friday. They're needing construction water and other things there. We've already set all that up for them, so ready to go. Just need the territory annexed in.
And then Dave, do you have?
I'm curious if anybody in the audience, their comments, so
Yeah, we'll get some
I'll
more of
wait-
those, but
I'll
I
wait
didn't
for-
know- I didn't
wait
know
for
if you
that,
had
and then-
questions to Perry while he was here at the podium, yeah. Okay, then, Perry, thank you very much for that, and rest of you, with regard to the petition. And again, state name and position and so forth.
Yep, Jeff Boyd, CEO for Garden City Co-op, just available for any questions anybody may have on the project.
And no comments?
No, Perry, I think, did a good job of explaining kind of the purpose and what we're asking for and the reason for the petition, annexation of the property into the district.
Dave, any questions or
not here.
comments now? Dwayne? Do you have any comments, even though you're going to recuse yourself from voting?
Let's just, I think I'm clarified what they wanted was just a service area.
Yep.
And, Robert, it's my understanding, once we close the public hearing, that we need to take action stating that the proper notice has been given and so forth. Is that correct?
That's correct, and that, in essence, then that moves it to the water board for their final approval for the annexation.
Okay. So at this time, anyone else in the audience is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make a comment with regard to this hearing on the petition for the Rural Water District? If not, I would entertain a motion to close the public, If not, I would entertain a motion to close public hearing and reconvene into regular session.
and I'll offer that motion, Mr. Chairman.
And is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close public hearing for the petition and move back into the regular session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. So now, motion passes. Now we're back into regular session, and we have an alternative, if the board would like, to state that the proper notice has been given and the statements are true, and that the meets and bounds, and it does set forth the meets and bounds for the district. Is there a motion to that effect?
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to repeat all that, so I move that we approve this petition as presented.
Which is alternative one in the information that we have here in our packet. Any further discussion? It's been moved. Oh, you've moved.
A second.
Yeah, excuse me. Moved by Dwayne, seconded by Dave. And any further discussion? Please note in the minutes that we will have two commissioners recuse themselves for voting on this petition, Chairman Schultz and Commissioner Larry Jones. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Move ahead with the Rural Water District.
Thank you, everyone. Back on the agenda is the Facilities Venue Audit and Assessment RFP for review and discussion of a possible RFP. Lon, this is your request. Let's have some discussion about it, please.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate being permitted to be on the agenda. You should have received in the packet, and even prior to that, a proposal from Hunden Strategic Partners. But let me provide just a bit of background. First of all, this has been a year-long project, and I have with me today, with regard to this project, Roxanne Lensink and Micah Bunch, who have I want to first of all thank them for the countless hours and amount of time that they've put in and effort to this project. A year ago, it came clear to me that we have a lot of things going on in this county, and sometimes there's not as much coordination and communication as maybe we need. So in the spirit of being a convener, which 8 years ago I was through commissioner orientation, I picked up two things that I brought back, and they've carried them with me for 8 years. One are the mandates that we have as county government, and two is that the county needs to be a convener of bringing stakeholders together, not producing the answers to everything, but convening groups. So last January, I convened an unofficial ad hoc task force to study the coordination, if you will, of facilities and venues, and what do we have and what don't we have in this county to attract workers and visitors and employees to our county in a more concrete fashion going forward. And just to quickly state, those stakeholders that were invited to join in this discussion were the board chairs and the CEOs of the City of Garden City, City of Holcomb, Garden City Community College, both USDs 457 and 363, Finney County Economic Development, the Garden City Area Chamber, and Finney County CVB. And we had a few meetings during the year, and quite honestly, this got sidetracked a couple of times due to professional and personal reasons for the people working with the group. But we concluded in that unofficial task force that it would be good to get an assessment of the facilities that we have, an assessment of what could be done with those facilities, and are there any new facilities that are needed to fulfill this objective. Two things I want to make very clear here today. At that time when we started this task force, We knew that the college had a conference space, and I don't know what all you would say, Ryan and Scott, but a building that they had started talking about, and that has been put on pause until we see where we are with this particular RFP proposal that we've received. And secondly, we made it very clear during the beginning of this process that this was an unofficial group, and it was not a decision-making group from a standpoint, do we move forward with a proposal, do we spend any dollars? That has to go back to the governing boards, and that's where we are today. I would like to also point out, and then I'm going to head into the proposal that I'm asking for support on today. This is not about a specific facility, a convention center or civic center or any other specific facility. This is rather intended to determine whether the facilities and venues that currently exist, what are they? What enhancements might be made to these facilities, and what additional facilities might be necessary. So this is nothing to take away from things that are already going on. It's simply to supplement and maybe even augment what is happening within Finney County in a more global, more general way. So I hope each of you has, and can we pull that up on the screen? I think it was in our packet. I'm going to go through a couple of pages of the proposal. But during this process, the unofficial task force said, we did an RFP that Micah and Roxanne were very heavily involved in, and proposals came back, and it was deemed that they were not really hitting the mark of what we were looking for, and Micah and Roxanne were asked to go back to the drawing board with one of those proposers, and that being Hunden Strategic Partners. Hunden is also the one that's doing studies for the city, and we recognize the fact that the county was asked early last year if they would join in an add-on, but that add-on was specific to a civic center, convention center, where this is more global, more general in scope. So on the first page that you see on your screen, Commissioners, the second paragraph that Hunden understands what we want to accomplish, educational document guide for local officials and support documentation to attract and secure funding. Then the short paragraph just above the scope of services, I just want to read that. The goal is to create a long-term roadmap for future tourism product development and programming enhancements that reflect Finney County's unique needs, makeup, values, and existing assets that make it an active and enticing destination for both visitors and residents, residents and visitors. And I would also add to that, I believe it would help with regard to attracting employees because of what things might be added possibly in the future. You'll see the scope of services, and if whoever's running the computer, if you can go to page 5, please. Page 5 of the proposal. It has task 6 on it, please. And just scroll, let's see. Yeah, that's where we want, task 6 is where I want to conclude before I talk about costs. This is what, and if you can scroll up just so we can see the bottom of the page a little bit better. Task 6 is what I'm focusing on. This is what Hunden has said. I need to back up a half a step. The proposals that came in through the RFP process were around $100,000. We went back to Hunden, we being Roxanne, Micah, Robert, Stuart Nelson, and myself, went back to Hunden and said, that's not acceptable. But we believe 50,000 is a number that we can work with. And Hunden came back and says, this is what we can do for $50,000. And that's in task 6. And on your screen, you'll see the different things they're talking about. They'll be reviewing with convention or conference and meetings, concerts, et cetera, sporting events, and I'm not going to read the whole list. And then if we can go to the next page, please. They're going to look at renovations, sites, workforce, cost assumptions in this proposal. And one of the things that we believe is extremely important is if the county or any entity within the county, and I know the college has considered this, is how is this facility going to be a revenue generator? How is it not going to be a cost leader, a loss leader? And how are we going to provide the workers and so forth that are needed? How are we going to provide the hotels that are needed to support whatever it is, whether it's with existing facilities or new facilities? And that's part of what Hunden will be taking a look at. So lastly, Hunden came back within 50,000 and said they could do these things. And then, again, on the computer, if you could go to the next page, this is the breakdown of their costs. 15,000 when the contract signed, 30,000 for the draft report, and 5,000 at the end. So at this point, we've gone out and sought some funding. The Convention and Visitors Bureau has committed to $10,000, board has committed to $10,000. The Garden City Area Chamber Board has committed to $5,000. And what I'm asking of you what I'm asking you to consider today is that the county would fund up to, and I stress the words up to, 35,000, which is the gap between the 15,000 that's been committed and the $50,000 price tag. I believe we have money in reserves, either in reserves or through ARPA funds that would fund this one-time project. I am to be on the city agenda tomorrow. I don't know what the city's take will be on this, but I will request to them to be a funder. We have other sources that we might be able to find some additional dollars, but our maximum exposure as a county would be 35,000 in my request, and maybe something less than that if we're able to find a couple of other funders for this project. Lastly, to the cost, on the top of the next page, if there's revisions and so forth that are beyond the scope of this, you can see what the additional cost would be per hour for Rob Hunden or his project team. So I believe that this project will cost $50,000, but there is a contingency there that we would have to consider if we added something to this beyond what has been outlined in the response to the proposal. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm here today to ask for support to move forward with this proposal from Hunden Strategic Partners and ask that the county commission approve up to $35,000 funding.
Thank you. Are there any concerns or issues with other commissioners or questions for Lon in this presentation? Robert, from administrator's point of view, your recommendation is to accept the proposal subject to acceptable funding solution.
That's correct, sir.
What is acceptable?
Well, once again, as Commissioner Pisty outlined, is that up to that $35,000, you do have a couple of community partners willing to participate in it. And as Commissioner Pisty presented, also he will reach out to even more for that. We do have, as pointed out, the budget capacity if the commission so chooses to move forward with an entire 35,000.
But your recommendation wasn't limited as to source of funding.
Correct.
Those have been explained to us. Any other concerns?
I'd like to address a few things, I suppose. You mentioned in your orientation that the city is doing a study on a, quote, a civic center.
No,
type deal.
thank you for asking, because I need to clarify that. Hunden has done a study, and according to the mayor and Matt Allen, that the results of that study are to be presented here very, very soon with regard to an ice facility, an ice arena. Second thing that the city added on to that study request was for a recreation facility. There was a third option that would be specific to a civic center, convention center. The city did not authorize that at that time, and that's what the county was being asked to support in the amount of approximately $26,000 for that. But it was very specific to a facility, and that's when we got into the conversation about a more global, more general study.
Any other discussion on this proposal to engage Hunden and the county commission to support up to $35,000 for the cost of this study?
I would be pleased to offer that motion.
Ooh, wait a second. Are you gonna make, okay, go ahead.
Well, I understand that. I was looking for any other further additional
But-
discussion.
Question, wasn't Honda doing the Parks and Recreation for the city? Did they do their study?
They are doing one.
Well, they're doing one now.
Okay, I
Yeah.
evidently,
Yeah.
I was privy to a preliminary plan of it. It's pretty extensive. Question, if this is, maybe this should be funded by CVB.
Well, they're funding
I
up
know,
to 10,000.
partially.
Yeah.
But it's, it appears to be a tourism, bringing people to town, those type of things. I don't know. I guess as a taxpayer, I have a hard time convincing myself that I need to, other than it might help on the tax rolls down the road, but I know, granted, it helps on sales tax and those type of things.
One of the things that caught my interest was that this was community facilities condition as well as needs assessment. And I think that the study this summer was limited to a type or kind of building or structure, and this is more comprehensive as to where are we at now and where we need to be, and it'll include county properties, and including the college and our partners in economic development. So I don't know that we're going to bear the full $35,000 of it. I don't know what the city commission will do tomorrow. I did not talk to anybody about that. I haven't either. We're gonna send Lon over there, and he's going to get them to split it with us, or not. But I think we need this, and I know that a lot of work has gone into it, and there's always a real concern when you're assessing and planning that we don't see any economic return for it, and I really appreciate your insight as a taxpayer. I get it, but if the add-on cost for only a one-building, single-slot solution was $20,000 to $25,000 or $26,000 this summer, we're adding $9,000 so that we can review some of our own properties as well as the others in the community. Now, is there any other discussion?
But before, and I think Dwayne wants to ask more, but before, I just want to address what Larry said, and I very much respect what Larry is saying. And there is definitely a portion of this that is directly tied to CVB. But for the one-time study, I also look at this as more of a global thing from a funding standpoint too. because it is auditing and, or assessing, if you will, what we currently have, including county-owned property and so forth, a hotel, the whole thing. And so that's where I would, yes, would it be nice if CBB had chipped in a little bit more? Maybe, but that's what their board has offered, and they were a lead in offering some funding to this. So I'm personally comfortable with that.
I guess from my standpoint, I'm on Larry's side on this. I don't feel that we need, as a tax government agency, to provide more facilities than what we already have. I think a lot of kickback, and we have two major projects in front of us already without adding a third. And as far as encouraging private business to build, that's all fine and dandy, but as a government agency, I don't think we need to be committing government dollars to any kind of facility. We know what we need to do with our facilities. We've already extensively looked at the exhibition building. We already have plans in place for that, so I guess I'm on Larry's side. I'm not too in favor of this at all.
One comment, a question, we're gonna ask the city for money, which is taxpayer money, and we're gonna ask probably the junior college for money, and that's taxpayer money too, so it's not that we're not involved, it's just that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could direct two comments. We have visited with the college, and the college has been a part of the task force from the beginning. And the college has its project on the drawing board, and at this point, I don't believe the board is receptive, probably, not in a bad way, to additional funding because they've already done their funding for their project. And again, in the same spirit, I'm not sure where the city will be tomorrow. I have not visited with anyone about a dollar amount to the city. Second thing I would like to add is this is an assessment of all properties within the county. And again, I see that as a county convener, if you will, to take a look at not just the county-owned properties, but properties within the county, and how can they be used, can they be renovated, should they be relocated, is something else needed? And it's, in my opinion, and the opinion of several others on the task force, not unanimous, but several others on the task force, we've never done that kind of an assessment where we've looked at all the properties we have before we move forward with specific projects that we think we need or think we want, and then try to build a justification for that. So it's an idea that I believe has been worked through for the last year, and I'm asking for that support.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to state my position with a bit more clarity, hopefully. What I see is a potential by going the route that Lon is proposing to have a better understanding of what's going on in the community. Right now, we learn by bits and pieces that this governmental entity is looking at an ice park or whatever the city's looking at, and the college is looking at more of a convening center. Is that correct? Something for we got all of these wonderful ideas out there that are taxpayer funded, but not any clarity about how they fit together. And to me, that's the opportunity this offers at a fairly reasonable cost, not to exceed $35,000, to bring to us as his term, Ron's term, global view, but what's going on in the community. So with that in mind, to me, it's a pretty reasonable investment for that clarity, and I'll hereby offer the motion that we approve up to $35,000 to pursue this avenue.
Is there a second to the motion?
I would second.
It's been moved and seconded that we proceed with the facilities venue audit and assessment as submitted in our packets. at a cost not to exceed $35,000 for the county. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you. Appreciate the consideration and the questions and comments.
The next item on the agenda is the HGAC buy purchasing contract. Curtis, would you like to address the commission on this contract? Keep it short. We've plowed this ground once before, but if you have any updates, let us know. I did watch the prior meeting.
Curtis Logston, Finney County Public Works Director. Well, this is the second time I'm bringing this forward to you. I'll go ahead and give a background on this. The HGAC Buy is a procurement platform similar to Sourcewell. The scope of HGAC Buy's professional services include developing specifications for competitive bids, soliciting vendor participation, conducting bid openings, and maintaining contract information through their website. If the board chooses to sign the contract with HGAC Buy, the county will have an additional avenue to purchase equipment, products, and services. The county will retain the ability to run its own bidding process and utilize other procurement platforms without penalty. That is the one, last time I brought this up, that was a concern of a couple of the board members. We did reach out to HGAC Buy, and we do have it in writing that we sign this, we can go out to bid ourselves, we can still use Sourcewell, and all other avenues. Basically, what I'm asking for is for approval of this to sign the contract for HGAC Buy.
Appreciate that request. I think that I have some legal questions I want to submit to our new counselor, and we'll take this up next month. That's what I would like to do. Is there anything else from other commissioners?
Do you want a motion to table it, Eric?
That'd be the proper thing to do, and you set which meeting. I don't want to try to do it in 2 short weeks. When's our meeting in March, first meeting in March? March 6th. All right, we'll get you on the agenda then, sir.
That give her time to get her feet under the desk and have a look at it? I'll offer the motion to table it until no sooner than March 6th for county council scrutiny.
All right, on this agenda, it's been moved. Is there a second to table this until March 6th?
Second.
There's been a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just a quick question to Curtis, Mr. Chairman. Does that delay us in getting some requests for bids out for any particular project that would cause harm to us?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I might point out, Mr. Chairman, I asked Curtis to bring this back and forth in front of us because there is some equipment down the line that only this source can get to us, and we asked him to bring this back in front of us because it's something we need.
Well, my homework is that the city of Garden City is a member of HGAC Buy. So we'll find out through our new counselor as to what experience the city's had with it, how it's worked for them. All right. Any additional comments before we vote on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you back on March 6th.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to assign this contract for review by the county councilor. I have kind of a list of questions for Ms. Schartz, so once she gets her contract approved by the board, I'll take that up off the record when we're done. All right, the next is her county councilor agreement. And for those in the public who don't know, that's Kara Schartz. And Ms. Schartz comes to us having worked for many years, both as a city and county prosecutor, recently with our Finney County attorney. She is now associated with the Hope Mills, Bolin, Collins, and Ramsey. I think I got all the partners, a law firm here in Garden City, a one of the pillars in our legal community, this firm is, and she has proposed a contract for our review. And has everybody had a chance to look at that contract? And does anybody have any questions of Ms. Schartz before we take in a motion to approve her as county council? Mr. Jones?
No, I'm sorry.
Mr. Reese? Mr. Jones?
No comments. I think I kind of scanned over what I knew about contracts for employment, and looks good to me.
All right, well, I think before we have a motion on it, I want to make really clear that the county councilor works for the commission. The county councilor works in coordination with the county administrator to provide legal services to the county. Contract states that. Will be the determining factor as to whether she gets hired or fired. So I always kind of like to know how to get in and how we're going to get out. I would point out the contract has a provision in it that's requested by her firm and her, that in the event that we have waivers of conflict for her, should that circumstance arise, and we'll deal with that as we go. As all of you in the audience and watching today should know, that I do have a substantial law practice here in town. Those conflicts come up, and as lawyers, I want Ms. Schartz and myself, we like our gold stars on the wall. We want to keep them. But that conflict provision paragraph is necessary for her and as well for anybody else who does work for us as a county commission. With that in mind, I sure would entertain a motion to approve the county councilor contract and appoint Ms. Kara Schartz as our county councilor.
Mr. Chairman, I would so move.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the contract be approved and appointment of Ms. Schartz as the county councilor. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll sign the contract.
Welcome aboard.
All right.
And her pay starts at 9:15.
We'll leave that to the administrator, would we please? Okay, looks to me like we have the semi-annual report from the Community Great Plains Development. That report was in your packet. If you would, please, what brought my attention was a loan that they made to Another Look Salon and Spa that was not a very big loan. It's very small in percentage, a 0.5 percentage point on the interest rate for 36 months, and the loan is delinquent. There has been inadequate or insufficient information provided, in my opinion. Client has been contacted is not enough for somebody who is delinquent. The normal process is for the board to authorize the chair to sign this report. That's up to the commission. And if there is a motion to sign that report, I'll do so should the commission approve it.
Mr. Chairman, I might speak to this report. I'm on this board. Several of these 0.5% interest rates are COVID-related loans that were put together. Yes, you're correct, that one is behind. If you go to the bottom of the report, it lists over the summary over the last 30 years or something like that. I can speak to one loan that I was involved in the approval of that was worthless, basically. Other than that, we've done a pretty fair job in the last 8 or 10 years of, if it's not a motel, we do pretty good with our research. And overall, the staff has done a much better job. Collections are tough, As a rule, you might say that this Great Plains makes up the difference for those individuals who want to start a business that are basically undercapitalized. And we're usually the second or third mortgagee on this stuff. So overall, they do fill quite a bit of service, and there's been quite a number of businesses in the last few years that have taken advantage of this program, so I believe it's worthwhile. And saying all that, I will move that we continue our support and join the Great Plains Development again this next current year.
Good. Is your motion that we review the report and authorize the chair to sign the
That is correct.
semi-annual community development block grant?
In long, short, yes.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll sign the report. All right, on our agenda, we have a request to amend the agenda, and we will take up now Commissioner Davy Jones' concerns regarding Finney County Economic Development Corp. Sir, what's your concerns?
My point in bringing this up is not to solve anything today, but to get us thinking into the future. When backtracking to when their budget request came to us some months back for fiscal year '23, it was asking for approximately a 50% increase. And Robert brought that to us. And for those on Lana's board that says that he makes all the decisions, I'm going to defend him that the county commissioners saw the figures, and it was at that point that the adjustment was made back to last year, to the year before appropriation, $215,000. So we, in full knowledge, knew what the budget approval was. The city had also a 50% increase in a request, and they acted on that favorably, and it put the city in a position of paying more into the Finney County Economic Development Fund in the county, and as their bylaws so state, whoever puts the most in has the three board members, and then so we switched from the county having 3 to 2. My issue is kind of threefold, and I'm going to lay it out here about as honestly as I can and try to be diplomatic. We've had 3 board members for, I think, going back about whenever the Finney County Committee on Finney County Economic Development Corporation was formed, I think about 1990, but we've had 3 for a long time. Seldom, if ever, do I recall in the last 14 years when one of those appointees on behalf of the county comes in and gives us any sort of an update. And so that's my first question. Would that be appropriate to ask Lana, to whoever our appointees are, that somebody once in a while give us a bit of an update on what's taking place? We're termed a partner. I didn't feel much like a partner sitting on the front row, learning all of a sudden for the first time that we're voting on an amendment that I had no idea what the amendment was, and that was to be, if you will, sort of ostracized over the board, the number that we could have on the board. Lana used to give us an update every so often. I would like to see that reinstated, where we had some, at least general knowledge of what's taking place. She made in her annual presentation, did a nice job with their presentation, but there were two roads mentioned. One of them was Mansfield Road and one is Parallel Road. And Lana made some reference to when those were brought up to date. So I'm sitting there assuming they must have some kind of a project that's going to involve entry to or exit from those roads. But I have no idea what it is. And so is there some way that we could be brought up to speed a little more like a partner, so that we kind of know as we're doing budget requests, how to apply the limited funds we have. And we can't solve that today, but I bring this up for discussion. Would love to hear from Lana if she has a big disagreement. It won't offend me. But can we get on some kind of a relationship where we know a little bit more about what might be taking place over there? So I did have conversation with Commissioner Finney, who is their representative, is our representative from the board, liaison is probably the correct term, about the amendment. And he said he was at the December meeting, and he had no knowledge of what that amendment was from that board meeting. So I don't know quite when they acted on it. I then received a call from a state legislator who was at that meeting asking me the same question. When did they act on it? I don't know. So anyway, that's my position.
I'm just trying to track with you on the three items that you had, update periodically, board numbers, and when that decision made, and a road update.
Yeah.
Those are the three items.
That'll be enough for today.
Discussion amongst the commissioners, please. Is there any business that we want to discuss with regard to economic development on this new item on our agenda?
I would, oh,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You started. I was just leading
I
forward.
had my back to you. I'm sorry about that. I didn't expect you here today. I thought you were still in New Orleans, but no. I was, in the words of another person who visited with me about the annual meeting, I was blindsided with regard to the amendment. Unfortunately, I was in Topeka and not able to attend the annual meeting, didn't get back to that, so I cannot speak firsthand to how that meeting went. But on the agenda that I saw before I went, there was reference at the annual meeting of an amendment, but I never once, in the December meeting, I didn't hear any discussion about that, nor did I see what that amendment was. And I was disappointed that at least, whether it be the staff of economic development or the board, that at least one of our county representatives didn't give us a heads up on what that amendment might be. So I was disappointed in that. I wasn't surprised that might take place sometime, but how it took place was very much disappointing to me.
Mr. Jones?
My only question, if it's in their bylaws, I could see why they would, they're just following their bylaws. It's enacted, it's, you pay to play, and so that's exactly what it is. I would look forward to having some more interactions with their director at our meetings like we used to in the past. That's up to the chairman's prerogative. And so maybe we can get that done. But other than that, I don't have much of a problem with it.
All right. Last thing I have is with regard to the road update. I think that this needs to be into our planning for budgeting in 2024. Obviously, the 2023 budget is set, and however, roads planning needs to be in our goals and opportunities. So I'm going to take this time while we're dealing about economic development to make sure that we understand the next thing on the agenda is board governance and planning. And I want to have planning meetings with regard to goals in budgeting for 2024, which will include our immediate needs and also how we can help our partners at economic development with the roads that are on the items that were listed in their annual report, plus others, as we continue to try to develop and build in our community. David Jones, I understand, we were all there when the motion was taken up, but I don't think it's one member's prerogative to question another board on their procedure, but rather maybe we should be making sure that we're reaching out and receiving more information from our partner. And we'll expect that in the future, keeping in mind that on the county side of it, it appears that we need to concentrate on the road development to assist in economic development and get those priorities set as we go through this planning for 2024. Any other comments on?
I think it's far more in the planning than a road or roads, Mr. Chairman. We've got sewers, we've got water, we've got several things that are gonna fit into the future plans here that we kinda need to probably know a little bit more about.
Well, I will reach out to Lana and her board and see that the communication is encouraged as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that takes us to board governance and setting some planning meetings for budgeting goals and priorities. In my opinion, budgeting reflects your goals and priorities, so I think setting those goals and priorities before you start the budgeting is the proper way to do our function of setting the policy. Suggestions on when you would like to have a planning meeting separate from a regular meeting to discuss goals and priority in 2024 budgeting.
Commissioners, if I may, I know that Jenny was going to speak a little bit about that planning aspect of it for the 24 budget. Would you like her to come up and?
Yes, would you make your presentation? I jumped to commissioners, I'm sorry.
That's okay, you just beat me to the punch. We have started in our office with the 24 budget preparation. We're just doing some internal spreadsheets and stuff that we would like to start getting out to different departments. We were going to request that you set your priority list for 24. Your 23 priorities were employee wages, facility improvements, and property tax stabilization, so that, and we went with those priorities as our priorities and focused on those things for the 23 budget. We would like for you to set the priority list for us for 24 so that we know what direction we would like to go in that. And we would like to start with this in March. We would like to send out outside agency information the end of February, just the packet that they will return to us, and they will meet with the fiscal committee prior to meeting with the Board of Commissioners, but we would also like for you to pick a date that you would like to have those presentations made to you. Last year, you did do one day in May, and it was a full day. You have allowed 15 minutes for 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for discussion, 15 minutes total for each outside agency to present. So those were the pieces of the budget that I was going to bring before you. So as soon as you can get those priorities determined, we will get started with our different departments.
Are you suggesting that we have those same meetings as we did last year with elected officials and department heads on the same 15-minute guidelines and do that in May?
Yeah, that would be for the outside agencies, yes.
Okay, and then for the goal setting and planning of the commission, that needs to be accomplished then in April?
Excuse me, if we could begin that process now, in essence, the request is come in with your top 5 priorities. We'll meld them together, and from those of the 5 commissioners, then we'll select the ones that are your top priorities and what we can make happen for 24 budget. If we can have that work session meeting in early April, it would help us immensely.
All right. So why don't we plan on what are our committee meeting dates in April, sir? April 3rd, let's plan on having a planning session after the regular meeting for setting goals and priorities.
And the second piece of that is the health insurance. IMA is going to do a deep dive presentation to the board that generally meets with them to go into detail over the 22. They also will be in March coming before the board to give you the details of 22 and where they think we will be at for 2024. The planning on that. So there will be IMA will do a short presentation to you all, and then we will do a meeting with department heads and representatives, whoever you would like to represent the board for that meeting as well.
I believe last year it was the chairman and vice chair. So,
When do you have that one scheduled again?
We do not have, no, they will come the first meeting in March to give you all a brief rundown on it, and then we will set up that meeting following at whenever we would like to meet on that.
What's your schedule like?
Well, I am doing the, I lost the acronym, what is it? CPM. So I am gone almost every second meeting of the month for the rest of the year in Newton for that class.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, the chairman and vice chairman attend with our insurance folks. Second meeting date won't work in March. What are our other alternatives?
okay, now, just for clarification on that meeting with IMA, is that the full board or is that just the chair and the vice chair?
It would just be the chair and the vice chair for the one that we're,
That does not necessarily have to be on a Monday. It's
correct.
between
Correct,
those two
I'm just
people.
trying to
Yeah.
make sure that Mr. Jones's calendar and mine will fit.
If you want to do it the first part of March, is fine with me.
Okay,
Just give me a heads up, that way.
okay,
And
we
then
can do that.
block it out. But while we're talking about these long-range plans, or board governance, maybe just a suggestion, maybe if the meetings are running a little shorter, we can allocate 20, 30 minutes at the end of our regular meeting to kind of discuss these and get them started in our minds where we need to go,
Okay,
instead of having to come back in and
would it be better to
Bless you.
deal with that on the March 16th or March 6th and March 20th meetings then, to put it at the end of the agenda, time permitting?
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Is that satisfactory, Mr. Jones?
that's fine with me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to throw in a little what if. We've talked in the past about taking department heads out for lunch. So fit that into the schedule, and when we get through early, we can,
Well, I have some concerns about it. The idea is really, really good. The problem is that if there's three of us, then we have an open meeting issue.
we've told them that before and never had any of the press join us. They were welcome to, but
I think that we'll take that up with our goals and priorities.
okay, all right, reminder.
And just for my clarification, it will be the chairman and the vice again this year for the, okay.
Larry and Jerry.
Okay, that's all I had on the budget. Thank you.
I think there's a song about that.
All right, so with that in mind, we have two different issues that we've kind of resolved. We're going to have a meeting with, planning meeting with department heads, elected officials in April. That'll work after our regular session. We're going to start this planning process, putting it at the end of the agenda, starting on March 6th. Does that meet with everybody's schedule? All right, very good. Okay, we'll turn next to staff reports. We'll hear from development update.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development and Administrative Coordinator. So I just wanted to give you a few updates. I have received updates since the packet was submitted. Unfortunately, on Friday last week, I did receive notice from the developer that for Ponderosa, they have decided to cancel the project due to the fact that they were unable to identify a proper water source. So that, like I said, I was contacted on Friday. I don't know a lot of the specifics of the different water sources that they were looking at, but they have decided to cancel it. Then for Country Acres, we have approved through the county the infrastructure plans, but since they are going to be getting city water, the city has asked that they submit additional new infrastructure plans for the water as well, because there were elevations of the roads that were changed and ditch depths and widths, so they have asked that the developer also submit some new infrastructure plans for water. And then for Randall Estates, they resubmitted their infrastructure plans last week, and we are currently reviewing them to make sure that they've addressed all of our concerns and that there's nothing else that needs to be addressed. Then Western Kansas Corridor, I don't have any updates for you at this time.
Any questions for our development update?
Go ahead, Dave.
The development out at Southwind, is it your understanding that that came to a stop because of they could not come to an agreement on water?
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know how we can help them fix that.
And like I said, I don't know all of the specifics. I don't know who owns the water rights to that property.
Brookover.
So if Brookover wasn't going to give them rights to that property, then that's probably what held it up, so.
All right, thanks.
I guess my only question would be on the Western Kansas development. I know we had some emails on their hookup to the sewer system on, I don't know, District 4 or whatever you want to call classification of it. And my understanding that we're taking bids on a new pumping facility. I guess just need an update on that.
I'll be giving that in my update.
Okay.
Yeah, and we allowed them to connect to our existing lift station though, just in case they're, before we got the new lift station installed, that it didn't hold up their development.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem, thank you.
Public Works,
Curtis Logston, Finney County Public Works Director. Okay, this is, at the beginning of each year, I will be giving you a yearly report on the Public Works Department of what was accomplished the previous year. Each month after that, you will be getting a monthly report on each previous month throughout the year. Last year, I was hired as the Finney County Public Works Director. The first thing I did was I met one-on-one with all the Public Works personnel and asked each employee what issues they thought needed addressed and what improvements they thought the department needed. The next 6 months, I just blended in and observed the operating procedures that were already in effect and made notes on inefficiencies and on items I felt needed addressed. At the beginning of the fourth quarter last year, I restructured the department into a structure that provides for specialized positions rather than a department made up of jacks of all trades. The Public Works Department has been split into 4 divisions: the Development and Administrative Division, the Road and Bridge Division, the Right-of-Way Division, and the Fleet Division. By improving leadership and applying constant and consistent supervision, I intend to manage the department with a team concept. To effectively address the identified issues, this department needs to raise the level of commitment, accountability, responsibility, and reliability needed to meet the needs of Finney County residents for providing safe, effective, and efficient services. Overall, this restructuring will dramatically improve the level of professionalism, leadership, and accountability, and will be managed with a more proactive approach rather than reactionary. High goals, but realistic goals is being set for each division. Greatly enhanced training provided by our new training and safety specialist. Policies and procedures which address safety and operational efficiencies and identifies the most cost-effective methods of such will be the essential tools to help achieve these goals.
Robert, it's my understanding that you would have sent this to the administrator for review prior to presentation today, correct?
No.
Well, I'm going to suggest that you do that, because in our commissioner's packet, we got one piece of paper about your restructure, and rather than us hear it for the first time from you, I would much rather have it in the form of updates to us as commissioners through the administrator. And I would love to be able to read your annual report rather than hear it in a presentation form. Are there any other concerns that you have with regard to road and public works update on a monthly basis? Your annual report and restructuring would be wonderful to be submitted to the administrator and for our review. So your monthly update report, sir?
That would be the next meeting.
Next meeting.
This was for the yearly, and can I have some instruction or direction on how you would like me to proceed forward?
Well, for right now, I think I would ask for you to submit your annual report to the administrator, who will get it to us in our packets, and we'll get you back on the agenda. Because all we got was a public works update. And so with that, I don't want to have a full presentation today of an annual report. I would rather that be submitted to the administrator and then to us for review prior to your presentation. With that being said, if you don't have an annual report, we'll move on to the agenda. Anything else as far as a monthly report?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Curtis, the only question it just gives us the opportunity to be able to ask you intelligent questions, after we look at your annual report. I think we want to clarify.
All it is a report of our accomplishments for last year.
That way we could be able to ask you questions about it.
Okay?
Thank you very much. The administrator's report, sir?
Yes, sir, very good.
I had more information.
Clarify on your update on your bidding on the lift station on District 5.
That was part of the report that I was fixing to give.
All right, we will hear on that. Proceed.
Proceed with what part of it?
What Mr. Jones wants.
On the lift station bidding.
Okay, the latest update on the old Northwestern Industrial District sewer system we took over last year. The last bid of the design should be completed by the 1st of this week, and the RFP should be sent out this week. The holdup has been some of the electrical designers, but they did state at the end of last week that they just had like a day or two left to go. So this should be out to sent out this week. On the bid documents, I have put a requirement that the lift station must be completed by June 1st and fully functional by June 1st. This should be able to be accomplished except for one thing. The pumps nowadays on these lift stations are in high demand and on very short supply. If we wait through the normal process, which would be once we send out the RFPs, once we hire a construction firm, then they would go out and they would purchase the pumps for the design of these systems. If we wait through that normal process, we're probably not going to have the pumps in time. Typically, the pumps are taking 4 to 6 months to get delivered. If we wait through the normal process, the lift station would be complete by June 1st, but we wouldn't have the pumps for it. So what I propose is that Public Works goes ahead and orders the pumps needed just for this one lift station. This is the only lift station that we are on a pretty hard time crunch. One of the, I guess, buyers out at Kansas Western Corridor is planning on putting a truck wash station, and they are wanting to hook into the lift station in about that time. If what I'm proposing is that the guidelines and procedures in the purchasing policy be waived in order for us to go out and purchase these pumps now so that we can begin getting them in. Even if we purchase them this week, we are still not going to be guaranteed that they would be here by June 1st. If we have to wait through the whole procedure, we're definitely going to be later than June 1st. In the purchasing policy, there's a provision in there that the board could deem this an emergency purchase so that we can assure that we have utility service for the new business in Kansas Western Corridor. And then also the existing businesses we have now, the new hookup that we just had done by Western Kansas Corridor has put a big strain on our existing lift station. The issue is that they had to connect into that existing lift station pretty deep because they're running a gravity line all the way from their development all the way to the lift station. This doesn't give us any storage in that lift station, so it basically requires those pumps to run nonstop. What we did is we had the contractor go ahead and cap that inside, cap their connection inside our lift station, because when a pump would quit working, then the effluent would raise, and then it was backing up into the new sewer system that the developer had put in. So we had to have them cap that, but it put a big strain on our system, and right now, that system is so old and broken down, we have our fingers crossed that it's gonna keep working until we can get the new one in. So basically what I'm asking for you guys this morning is to waive the purchasing policy and allow us to go ahead and purchase the pumps needed for this lift station.
Well, Mike, just a simple financial question. What do we see that the cost of that is, the pumps that we're trying to order? I mean, I'm not asking.
I have not gotten that yet. I will have to call the engineer on that. I do know that an existing pump that's in there, last time we had to have it repaired, it was right at $11,000. So I'm expecting each pump probably to be, I guess in the neighborhood of 13 to 14,000. The station takes 2 pumps, and in a case like this, what we do is we purchase 3 pumps, because as soon as one goes down, we have to have a replacement to put in there. So I'm guessing that this would be about around a $40,000 to $45,000 purchase for 3 pumps.
You need a motion on emergency purchase? Correct. I move that we declare this emergency and go ahead with the purchase of the pumps for the lift station.
And do we need to include that it's a waiver of our policy, or just the emergency wording? Okay, with the emergency wording? Yeah, okay, I would second that then.
It's been moved and seconded that we authorize Public Works to purchase the 3 pumps at an anticipated cost up to $45,000. And that it's an emergency for purposes of budgeting. Is there any other additional comments from the commissioners? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion, motion carries. You have a question for Robert?
Yes, I do. You mentioned the gravity system. Is there any way that they had to get your permission for that system? That kind of complicates your issue there, making those pumps run all the time.
Thank you.
Well, that was in their design, and it was reviewed. The issue that hasn't been checked out yet is that when they did hook into the lift station, they actually hooked in about 1.5 feet higher than what the plans had called for. Okay? So really, it gave us a little bit more storage before the pumps hit on. The only bad thing about that is by them hooking in 1.5 feet higher, I was under the impression that their design just barely met the actual flow requirements of the sewer line. So we have to do more research, and we have to go out and shoot some elevations, because there's a possibility that if that line is too high, we're not going to have a gravity flow, and that could possibly mean that the lift station would have to be put in.
I guess my main question is, do you have control over that kind of design that ties into your system? From like the gravity system, did you have yay or nay option on accepting that engineer design?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
It's been requested that we take a break. Can we be in recess for 10 minutes?
Absolutely. Sure.
We'll take you back up at the end of the 10-minute recess. We'll
I'm done.
All right, very good. Thank you. We'll be back in at 5 after 10. the regular meeting, and we'll hear from the administrator on his administrator's report.
Good, okay. I have a few other individuals up here during my time as well. We do have Jenny to go ahead and finish up what she began speaking about on today, so if you don't mind, we'll do that
Thank you.
first.
Good morning. I just had one more item to let you guys know about.
Would you go ahead and tell our audience who you
Sure.
are?
Jenny Newberry, Finance Director for County.
Thank you.
Skylar and I attended interviews for construction manager at risk on the 31st for the fire EMS Station 3. 5 candidates were interviewed. They all had great presentations, and there was a lot of discussion on it. The committee made a selection, and that will be brought to the sales tax committee this afternoon. I believe they meet at 2:00, and decision will be made by them and contract approval. But pending that, there was a top performer that was selected out of that group. And that was the only other update that I had for you all.
I do have an update for you, is that the Sales Tax Oversight Committee, for which I chair, will not approve a contract. They'll make recommendations back to each governing board.
Right, I just meant that it was going to go to you guys for approval today, and then the contract would be negotiated. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that, but.
That's right. I just want the public to know the Sales Tax Oversight Committee is a collaborative committee of both city and county on that 30-cent sales tax.
Correct,
We don't make any decisions. We make recommendations, and
right.
then it'll come back here into our city commission to make the final approval
Yep.
on your recommendation.
Correct.
Thank you for your work on that.
Welcome.
Very good. Last week, we met with Health Department on a lot of the grant programs that they have going on and setting the goals and objectives for '23. That's one of the processes that we go through, not just once a year, but throughout the year, on trying to make a determination how the Health Department can be more proactive, more relevant within the community. One of the projects or programs that, as you may be aware, is the Maternal and Infant Care Program. And I've asked Shruti to come up and talk to you just very briefly about that program, since there was a few questions on it last week.
So the public's aware, a request was made to all commissioners, and that presentation was sent out to news places. And so please state your name and tell us about our community care program that was addressed. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Shruti Chabra. I'm the director at the Health Department. And a question was asked about the maternal and child health program. I'm not sure if you would like me to talk about all the programs that we have right now, or particularly about maternal and child health program. Okay. So the question was asked. It was stated that we do not have the maternal and child health program anymore, and that is not correct. We still have the maternal and child health program. We have been working on those activities throughout 2022. There has been a change in what we have been doing, and some of the changes stem from our work that we were doing with COVID. So during the emergency response, a lot of our resources had to be shifted towards COVID, which meant that our other services were reduced, but they were never taken away. Under the maternal and child health program, one of the primary things is that we reach the people who are not able to get in anywhere else. That would be uninsured or underinsured people. And the maternal and child health program also offers a sliding fee scale. So people are still, throughout the pandemic, we continue to offer appointments for people to come in and see our nurse practitioner or nurse, as the case may be. As the pandemic shifted from an emergency response to an endemic response last year, we had different struggles in the department. One of the chief struggles was a shortage of nursing staff, which made it very hard to continue providing normal levels of appointments and seeing the normal number of normal as in pre-pandemic number of patients. But we continue to operate with the numbers of nurses that we did have. Apart from that, we intensified efforts for recruitment and retention, and then we also increased efforts for community outreach. So we started providing a lot of services as outreach services. For example, we did a community health fair in Stevens Park in July where we offered physicals to kids, and we offered immunizations for schools and for young people. The regular immunizations, not just COVID immunizations. So that is one form of service provision that we have been exploring more in order to optimize our staff resources. Another thing that we've been trying to do is improve collaboration with local stakeholders, because one of the services under the maternal and child health program is appropriate referral. And so we want to make sure that we are referring appropriately, we are referring in a timely manner, and people are getting to the correct place that they are trying to, where they would get the services they need. So this is what we have been doing mainly. If we look at numbers, last year, at the beginning of the year, for the first 4 or 5 months, we saw maybe 3 or 4 MCH patients throughout, but this has picked up over the last 4 or 5 months, and we've been seeing around 20 clients in the clinic. Now, this is only maternal clients, and this is not clients who are coming in for immunizations. We have been giving immunizations as usual, and we have picked up a lot. So in the last 3 months, from October to December, we have seen around 1,100 people for immunizations, and this is routine immunizations.
So the report that was given to the commission by a citizen that we don't provide MCH services at our health department was incorrect?
Yes, it was incorrect, as in we still do provide, but it had some truth to it in that the services had to be greatly contracted. And part of the reason for that was that we did not have an MCH nurse for more than a year. We hired an MCH nurse at the end of November, and right now we are making sure that she goes through all the trainings and she's able to provide services to the optimal level. But yes, we were still providing MCH services. They were mainly being provided by our nurse practitioner and by the charge nurse.
Anything else, Mr. Administrator or Commission?
Yeah, just as a refresher, at one point last year, as many of you recall, we were down to one nurse. And so it compromised a lot of the programs and services that we had traditionally provided. And now that we have more nurses on staff now, we're able to pick that back up and move forward. So just a follow-up.
The WIC program, the MCH program is different from the WIC program, although the target audience is the same. The WIC program has been fully functional throughout this time. They have, in fact, been increasing the number of people that they are able to serve. So over the last year with the WIC program, we've added a breastfeeding specialist and a breastfeeding peer counselor, and we've also added the ability to talk to people after hours on the phone, and that has helped us increase reach. We've doubled the number of fully breastfeeding mothers from Jan of 22 to Jan of 23.
Anything else? All right, back to you, Robert.
All right, very good. One of the other things that we're doing is we've got County Government Day up there at the Capitol this week, Thursday, I believe. And I know Kelly was working a little bit on that, and I imagine Lon will give it a briefing on his update. But I wanted to ask Kelly to come up and just kind of tell her some of the things that she's been able to get accomplished here in the last week or so we can have a presence at that meeting as well.
Kelly, please state your name.
Good morning, Kelly Munyon, Finney County Human Resources. Due to a prior conflict, I am unable to attend, but I did agree to help coordinate the efforts of getting up to the Capitol, the county day at the Capitol. I believe that there's only one other Southwest county that has been in attendance, so we hope to be able to be an additional and then moving forward to continue that. I did find 5 personnel that are willing to go up. Greg Hans from the Sheriff's Office, Maria Castillo, County Appraiser, Paul Resley, Emergency Manager, Curtis Logston at Public Works, and then I believe Robert Reese was going to try to attend as well. And so with, in coordination with Lawn, Chamber of Commerce, and Finney County CVB, I've been able to coordinate and get some information together that I can send with our team to go up and represent Finney County, as we'll have a table in the rotunda that day to visit with legislators and visitors in the Capitol.
Is the commission sending you?
I hope so. I plan to be there because, first of all, I'm on the KCCA board, and they're going to have a table at County Day in the Capitol, and then I'll help the county. There's about 30 tables that will be in the rotunda that day promoting county government, and so I plan to kind of do a dual role.
So as board chairman, are your expenses of traveling there being covered by, as your board position, or do we need to make sure that you're not doing this pro gratis?
Well, it's going to be kind of a mix, but I will be turning in a receipt for hotel.
For us?
Yeah.
And mileage?
But lastly, I want to say real quick, I appreciate Kelly's work on facilitating this and coordinating. And yes, we want to have a stronger presence. Last year was the first year they did this in the Capitol, and Seward County was the only county from out here. And this year, Finney County will be there, Saline County, some others in the mid part of the state. But just to let them know that there's a lot of territory out here past Salina.
Not a question about that. I have another question for her. This, may I?
What is this?
This is a letter that came about an employee assistance program.
Correct. A lot of my communication out to employees is via email. There's a lot of staff that do not get on their computer a lot during the day or struggle to get on their computer because they haven't been on in a while. So as well as sending it out, Dave, you're being pointed at, as well as sending it out via email to all staff, I did send it to the home residents so that employees would have that information. That EAP program is also, their families are eligible as well. So getting it at home on the table, I thought was a good way to
I just had a
promote
real
it.
simple question about it, Kelly. Is this a duplication of what has been in the past offered by Genesis? Don't they offer
Genesis does have some of those services, yes. However, our EAP for our county staff and their families, we've got 6 free visits. Any of those visits over at Genesis would be subject to either their sliding income scale and or county health insurance.
My question simply wasn't duplication, and that was it, Jerry. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Kelly? All right, thank you.
All right. Really, the final thing is that we're still working on the request for proposal for the health EMS facility going up, and request for proposal on assessment of the LEC for the heating and air system and plumbing and whatever else. Hopefully what we'll have out of that project is something to bring back to the board to give you a rough idea of what kind of improvements are needed overall. We know that the HVAC system needs attention and some of the plumbing, but I think we need to have a comprehensive look of exactly what it is before we start spending money. So,
All right.
All right.
Anything else in your report?
that is it.
Okay. All right. I'm just caught in the middle of whether we ought to have a motion to approve Lon to appear in Topeka and us pay for his mileage to do so. his lodging. I think that'd be a lot easier than submitting a voucher and then requesting us to approve it. So is there a motion to send Lon to Topeka for County Day with our county staff, pay for the overnight cost and mileage?
We've never done that before, but we can.
All right, well, otherwise, he's waiting on us to approve the voucher when it comes in. So whatever you guys think.
And either one works for me.
All right.
I move that we pay for Lon to go to Topeka to represent us at a KAC conference.
Well, it's County Day in the capital.
Okay, County Day in the Capitol.
Thank you.
You don't have to.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
One-way trip.
All those in
One-way
favor
trip.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? All right, serve us well, do the best you can.
Larry said that was, his motion was for a one-way trip, so I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, we're gonna just start left to right on commissioner reports, and so.
I'll be brief. Had a library board meeting, and it was rather typically run. Did receive a letter from their CEO, and I think maybe some of the others of you did too, and it was of interest to find that Shawnee County and Topeka libraries now have been being managed by LS&S, where in the past we were kind of the lone governmental library. Attended and participated in the Rotary's 100th anniversary celebration. That was kind of a nice event. Attended the Finney County Economic Development Annual Meeting. And then I've had a couple side conversations. Did visit with Phil Ascarino. I think, is he still around behind there? He left. Anyway, visited with Phil a little bit about the concern we shared and that I shared. And then attended the Republican committee meeting. When was that, night before last?
Saturday morning.
Yeah, whenever. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Chairman Drees?
I listened in on one of the KLPG Friday meetings, missed last week's. We had a CVB meeting and a kind of normal meeting. They discussed the funding of the study as well as the probably 4 or 5 approvals for funds for upcoming events, kind of a usual run-of-the-mill meeting. Then the Great Plains Development, our meeting there, we had quite a lengthy list of applicants. We kind of kicked out about half of them that not interested. It's kind of fun when we turn them down to not interested ones, so that didn't used to happen. And then I too started with the talked to Larry on the board as well as Lana and Phil about the issue, mainly pertaining to making sure they were following open meetings rules, not discussing that behind doors. And they assured me that was not the case. So that was pretty much it.
All right. Mr. Jones?
Let's see. Attended the Finney County meeting on aging. They moved their meeting date around enough times that I was able to match my schedule. We welcomed two new members on the board, which we'd already approved of here. So it'll be interesting to see how we get things up and running. Also, like Dave and everybody else, attended the Finney County Economic Development Annual Meeting. Then I also attended KLPG in Topeka. And I hope all you guys are getting the weekly newsletter, because it's interesting to see what's being proposed in Topeka. We have a lot of things coming down the pike towards us, and so, also, I wasn't on the call on Friday. Do you guys listen to the call?
This Friday.
Okay. But, I encourage you to do that, listen to that. It's only 30 minutes long, and, Doug usually runs it pretty short, and of quick unless somebody's got some pressing questions. Other than that, that's what I did.
Commissioner Pushney?
Yes, I too attended with Dwayne and Larry the KLPG meeting in Topeka, and then the next day I attended the KAC meeting that ended with a reception with the League of Municipalities. So I've spent most of the week, a couple weeks ago, in Topeka. Property taxes, water, those kinds of things are headlining the legislature this year. I follow the legislative activity through the state, Sunflower State Journal, Hava Report, KAC, which they have calls at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoons, by the way, KLPG, and KCCA. And Mike Taylor is the lobbyist for KCCA, and his comment on one of his newsletters, and his are just a couple of pages usually, the Kansas legislature just can't let cities and counties manage their own affairs at the local level. Several bills are already introduced and scheduled for hearings. At KAC, at the meeting after the KLPG meeting, Jay Hall, our legal counsel and lobbyist for KAC, presented to us the fact that day they were introducing House Bill 2050. And then yesterday, in visiting with our representative, Dr. Clifford, on the phone, he asked us for our opinion with regard to House Bill 2150, and I handed out a copy of that to each of you just now. If you'll notice at the top, Bill is one of the sponsors, but he's not necessarily one of the supporters of this. It's to eliminate the 3-mile ring around cities. In the KAC meeting, there were even county commissioners there saying, hey, I've got several cities in my county, they're not going to like that at all. And they would not, in this bill, would not regulate development outside of counties. It doesn't necessarily, it does reference if you're a zone county, if you will, but it doesn't really talk about it in depth. And so the League of Municipalities has taken a negative position of opposition to this bill. KAC at this point is not even going to offer neutral testimony. They're staying silent on it right now because they know they've got city and county potential conflicts with this bill. KCCA is not supporting this bill at this point because there are zone counties, there's non-zone counties, and what kind of thing could this cause within several of the 105 counties. But my point of emphasizing this in my report today is Bill Clifford has asked for us, either individually or collectively, to give our thoughts to him, and it is scheduled for hearing and it is assigned to the House Local Government Committee, and it does have a hearing on the 8th, which is Wednesday, the day before I'll get to Topeka for the county government day, so I'm not going to be able to sit in on that hearing. But they do broadcast all their hearings and so forth, so we might want to check on the local government hearing on the 8th of February and have somebody sit in and watch that hearing. So anyhow, that's what's going on in Topeka. And lastly, well, two things lastly, I guess. Yes, I do plan to be at Capitol Day, County Day at the Capitol. That was really a good activity last year. You catch legislators, staffers, so forth as they're going through the rotunda. Last year they had 22 tables. This year it's about 30 tables, so they've expanded that presence, and it'll be from 8 to 2 on Thursday during the day. So hopefully touch a lot of legislators during that day. And I plan to spend a little extra time at the Capitol on Thursday as well. And then lastly, the League of Municipalities just announced they hired a new executive, and I am really excited about the hire. It's Nathan Eberline, and Nathan Eberline worked for KAC as legal counsel and lobbyist for about 11 years, I think, prior to the new leadership at the KAC office. and he worked at the League of Municipalities prior to that. And if anybody understands both city or municipality and county government, it's Nathan Eberline. Very sharp guy and very pleasant to visit with. But I was pleased to see that was the selection for the league, for their new exec, and he starts his job on March 13th. So somebody in the League of Municipalities who may not always agree with us, but at least very much understands county government. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, I attended the monthly board meeting for Compass Area Mental Health and was appointed to their executive committee as a new member. Thank you. That's just what I need.
You have kind of a track record here.
Well, at least I wasn't appointed chairman. Yeah, the thing is that Compass is not unique to what's going on here in Southwest Kansas, is that hiring and retaining employees, especially at the professional level that they're at, is a monumental task, and they have similar issues with purchasing and purchasing power, and so the HGAC contract is something which I'd like to have your opinion on right away. Then also, this week I attended the stewardship presentation with Iron Insurance, who sells the county's insurance but doesn't do the work comp, and work with people about safety and insurance issues and how to contain costs. It was well attended. The administrator was there, as well as some other folks who benefited from that presentation, as did I. I want you all to know that I may or may not get to attend the Super Bowl, but even if I'm not there, I will be in spirit, and the Chiefs need to see if they can win their third one on Sunday. I know that's really important to county business, but go Chiefs. That's all I have for activity. Please see the packet that was attached. Dory has our meeting schedule. We will meet again on the 20th and then again on March 6th with regular meetings. If anybody wants anything on the agenda, please let me know. We will set agenda for the 21st on the 14th, I believe. Tuesday. And that'll be the deadline. Also Wednesday then for the packets, but I appreciate Dory and Robert getting the packets to us on Tuesday before a Monday meeting. And next time, that'll be, packets will be received on Wednesday before a Tuesday meeting, so that we have 3 business days within which to consider the consent agenda items that are within those packets. Yes, sir.
With regard to meeting, just so you're aware, I will be absent at the 21st meeting due to a family commitment.
Oh, and you might also mention, if you're into the legislative coffee is the 18th.
Of February. That would be something that would be good to attend. If all of us attend, don't talk about county business there. So,
I think that's on our meetings. I didn't see it on the screen, but I think that's.
I think it's on the list, but just a heads up, make sure you.
18th February.
anything else before the commission? Yes, the first chamber meeting is the 18th of March.
Bill was on High Plains Public TV
Oh, was he good?
Friday night.
Friday night.
He does a good job.
It's good to see. Motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Second. Been moved second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.